morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Joy Brooks. I'm the District Floodplain Engineer in the Water Resources Division. All right, let's try this again. I think this is as loud as we can go. All right. All right. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Joy Brooks. I'm the District Floodplain Engineer in the Water Resources Division at the Michigan Department of Environmental Quality. Today with me is Kathy Slate. You probably saw her at registration, and Brian Rudolph. He's our district supervisor. Brian will be serving as the hearings officer for this public hearing on the Michigan Department of Environmental Quality file number 13-26-0014-P. To describe how this is going to work today, I will begin with some background information about why we're here. Then I'll describe the purpose of the hearing and how your comments will be used. Following that, I will outline the procedures under which we will take your comments and then describe what will happen after today's hearing. It will then be time for you to provide comments, and we will spend the majority of the time today listening to those comments. At the end of the hearing, Mr. Rudolph is going to provide a quick statement, and then I will provide a short summary and a closing. By way of background information, the Water Resources Division is responsible for administering a variety of programs that help protect inland lakes and streams, wetlands, floodplains, sand dunes, and the Great Lakes. These programs regulate certain activities such as dredging or filling a lake or stream or wetland, constructing a dam, constructing a marina, placing shore protection or constructing docks, and building in designated critical sand dune areas, wetlands, or floodplains. The law related to those responsibilities is the Natural Resources and Environmental Protection Act of 1994, PA 451, as amended, which I will refer to as Act 451. We are here this morning because Boyce Hydropower LLC has proposed the following. The applicant proposes to lower the water level in Wixom Lake Reservoir by 4 feet beginning October 1st, 2013 to install sheet pile coffer dams at the Tobacco River and Tittabawassee River spillways. The reservoir will be refilled to normal level by spring of 2014. The applicant proposes...
Ladies and gentlemen, unfortunately it's as loud as this equipment goes.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen. All right. This is a statement that's required for us by law. As part of the hearing process that we go through today, through the state of Michigan's requirement for public hearings, we go through a statement that's an opening. All the comments today are going to be recorded, and we're going to have to go through this, and I know it's a little tedious, but we're going to do so. At that time, we'll take comments from all of you. We'll do our very best to accommodate everybody and speak as loudly as I can. Much better? Okay. You want to try it?
All right, we're going to start at refilling the normal level in 2014. Is that better? All right. The applicant proposes to lower the water elevation in the Wixom Lake Reservoir by 8 feet and suspend the bypass flow of the Tobacco Spillway from June 1st to October 30th, 2014 to perform required work at the Tobacco Spillway and then refill the reservoir to normal water levels until June 1st of 2017. The applicant then proposes to lower the water elevation of the reservoir 8 feet from June 1st to October 30th, 2017 to perform required work at the Tittabawassee River spillway. The Wixom Lake Reservoir will then be refilled to normal water levels. The applicant also proposes to place 150 cubic yards of rock riprap on 170 linear feet of shoreline landward of the ordinary high water mark of the Tittabawassee River and 180 cubic yards of rock riprap on shoreline waterward of the ordinary high water mark of the Tittabawassee River for shoreline protection in the Edenville Trail Race area. The applicant also proposed to install sheet piling cofferdams and place a total of 4,100 cubic yards of fill behind the sheet piling. The spillways are located in Town 17 North, Range 1 West, Sections 35 and 36, Tobacco Township, Gladwin County, Michigan, and Wixom Lake is located in Midland County, Town 16 North, Range 1 East, Sections 3 and 4, Town 16 North, 1 West, Section 1, and in Gladwin County, Town 17 North, Range 1 East, Sections 26, 27, 33, 34, and 35, and Town 17 North, Range 1 West, Sections 35 and 36, in accordance with plans attached to the public notice. In order for a permit to be granted, the Michigan Department of Environmental Quality must find that the proposed activities described in the public notice meet certain criteria set by Part 301 Inland Lakes and Streams of Act 451. In general, we must consider the effects of the proposed projects on the streams and wetlands. When reviewing an application for permit under the provisions of Part 301 Inland Lakes and Streams of Act 451, the MDEQ is charged to make the following considerations. Section 30106 of Part 301 requires that, 1, the department shall issue a permit if it finds that the structure or project will not adversely affect the public trust or riparian rights. And 2, the department shall not grant a permit if the proposed project or structure will unlawfully impair or destroy any of the waters or other natural resources of the state. The purpose of today's hearing is to give anyone interested in the proposal by Boyce Hydro LLC to lower the water levels of Wixom Lake for the purpose of repairing the dam, an opportunity to provide information that the MDEQ can use in making the decision whether or not to issue a permit. Please recognize that the MDEQ can only use the information you provide if it relates to the criteria that the MDEQ must use in making a decision. Some of you may simply want to express your support or opposition to the project. We are happy to make note of your position, but please understand that the MDEQ is by law not allowed to base our decision on whether or not there is widespread support or opposition to the project. In just a moment, I will outline the procedures we will use for taking your comments. But before I do so, I need to mention that the notice of this hearing was published in the Gladwin County Record on May 29th, 2013. As you came in this morning, you were given the opportunity to fill out a public comment card. We requested everyone register and indicate if you wanted to make a comment during the hearing. We will use the cards to maintain a record of the people interested in the proposed project and to call upon those who would like to speak today. To ensure that the hearing is conducted in a fair manner, we will follow these steps. I will call on those who have indicated on their public comment card that they would like to speak in the general order in which the cards were turned in. When all the cards have been completed, I will ask if anyone else would like to make a statement. When your name is called, please come to the microphone, face me, and make your statement. If you have a written comment or materials that you would like to present, please hand them to me as you come to the microphone. As you begin your comments, please state your name and any group or association you may represent. If your name is called and you decide that you no longer wish to make a comment, you can simply decline and we'll go on to the next person. Each person will be given 3 minutes to make their comments. We will let you know when you have about 30 seconds left, and then you need to begin wrapping up your comments and end within the allotted time. If need be, we will indicate when your time has ended. Each person has 3 minutes of their own. There's no donating time to other people. I ask that everyone be courteous and respectful to one another today. Only one person at a time should be speaking at a time. Please do not interrupt the speaker, and please also recognize that the MDEQ staff is here today to provide a fair opportunity for you to express your comments on the proposed project and to listen to those comments. This hearing is being recorded, and your comments will be part of the information that the MDEQ will consider in making its decision on whether or not to issue a permit on the proposed project. The public comment period for this public hearing is open for 10 days, starting today, and ending on June 25th, 2013. Additional information and comments submitted in writing during the 10-day public comment period will also be considered in the MDEQ's decision. Additional information and comments may be submitted to Kathy Slate, MDEQ Water Resources Division. Our address is the Saginaw Bay District Office, 401 Ketchum Street, Suite B, Bay City, Michigan, 48708-5430. Following the close of the public comment period, the MDEQ will make a decision to either issue a permit for the proposed project or with modifications, or send a letter of denial. You can find out what that decision is by checking the MDEQ website, www.michigan.gov/DEQ. You're going to want to then click on permits and scroll down to permit tracking and click on the Coastal and Inland Waters Permit Information System. Thank you very much for your attention. I will begin calling the names of those who have indicated that they would like to make statements. David Rothman.
Good morning. My name is David Rothman. I speak on behalf of the Wixom Lake Association today. I'm a member of their dam project study group subcommittee. I appreciate the opportunity to speak to MDEQ on this public hearing. I want to say that our study group has spoken at length with the permit applicant, and we've worked for some time with state and federal regulators and with government officials and legislators at the local, state, and federal level so that our group can understand the situation at the DEQ Dam, and we can share accurate information on that with people in the community. We also use that information to submit comments to the MDEQ in writing on this permit application. In our written comments, we listed about a dozen potential errors and omissions in the application document itself, as well as noting several serious concerns based on public documents which we provided to MDEQ. I don't intend to repeat our written comments here other than to say that based on the comments we made, our position is that the request for this permit should be either denied or permit issuance should be delayed until the applicant has fully complied with his license requirements of interest in the state of Michigan, as indicated in our letter. We're confident that MDEQ will carefully consider our written comments in the process of deciding what to do with this application. The Wixom Lake Association is a group of private citizens working to improve, protect, and maintain Wixom Lake. Those who want to learn more about us can do so at our website, wixomlakeassociation.org. They perhaps saw the flyers that we were passing out today. I'm here with other members of the study group, and I'd like to ask them to stand so that people can see these individuals. We're certainly happy to talk to members of the public and answer questions after you have closed this public hearing. We encourage people to consider joining our group and help us to ensure a good future for Wixom Lake. The flyers that we were handing out do have membership application forms in them. So once again, I thank MDEQ for the opportunity to comment on the permit application, and I look forward to seeing what decision you make based on the comments that we have provided to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Ed Van Nest. Thank you. It was declined. Thank you. H. Lynn Zinda. Woodrow Wilson. Jay Brown. Charlotte Riley.
My name is Charlotte Riley.
Sorry.
Charlotte Riley, and this is DEQ, I thought it was going to be more with the Boyce Hydro. But I was wondering, there was a rumor going around that Boyce was in process or of thinking or of trying to sell. And if that's the case, why are we going through all this? And another is, I wanted to know, when the water is dropped, and you might know this, you might not, I guess I'm really in the wrong place to be asking questions because you're not going to answer them. But I wanted to know where the water is being dropped. I mean, is it going to be the whole section? Everything is going to be lowered?
I will, when we get done today, I'll try and answer these questions as best I can after we've gone through everybody. I'll write the questions down.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Bruce Vance. Roger Mays. Stan Mathewson.
My name's Dave Matheson. I probably didn't need the mic. Everybody will hear me. Couple statements. First, the dam was built back in the 20s. Rumor has it that Mr. Boyce says that if we don't help him with his repairs, that he'll lower the lake all the way down back to a river. My contention is, when they built that dam and raised it to a lake, which is a dammed up river, but it's now a lake, it created wetlands. And you folks, DEQ, state that you cannot destroy, fill in, or take away wetlands. And yet this man says, I'm going to do it. Another one is, he's stating that he wants the whole county to pay $175 a year for 20 years to make the repairs on his dam. Now, if you look in the audience, there are quite a few people here that are probably on a fixed income, as myself. And to take that kind of money away from these folks is wrong. It's like me going up to Graft Motor Sales and saying, oh, hey, here's $175 a year for the next 20 years to change the oil in your hoists and everything else. The man bought the property, he's making a profit off of it, let him pay for it. It's not right. For him to say, I'm just going to lower it, so be it. If he wants to get rid of it, turn it over to the county, turn it over to the townships, let them run it. Let them get the profits off it, so our taxes can go down. Thank you.
Laura Hatchett. Thank you. Scott Phillips.
I'm Scott Phillips. I live on Wixom Lake. I'm a retired engineer, and throughout my whole career, my decisions were based on data. Up until this meeting, I thought the lake was planned to be lowered for 3 months, so my data was based on a 3-month situation, but now I heard it's 5, so I haven't been able to do all the calculations that quickly to make adjustments, but I did do some. We were told that the lake had to be dropped in the summer because it's the lowest flow period or rainfall period. Well, I went to Google flow rates of the Tittabawassee River. There's a gauging station down in Midland, and in 5 minutes I found found a USGS website that had all the data since 1936. And summarizing that, since the year 2000, if you were to accumulate that from the year 2000, on a 3-month period, the June, July, August timeframe was the actual average flow was actually higher than September, October, and November. And on the 5-month period, starting with June, the August through December period is only 100 cubic feet per second higher than that June through October timeframe that they're just giving us. Now we're talking roughly 1,000 cubic feet per second on an average flow. March averages at 4,000 cubic feet per second, so that's 4 times as much. So one spill gate, the capacity of the dam is roughly 33,000 cubic feet per second. One spill gate can handle 5 times this average flow over this 5-month period of time. So clearly we're not talking that we have to lower this to handle the average flow rates. We're talking about having to drop the lake to get the buffer capacity to handle an extreme rain event. Well, I question whether or not the DEQ has looked at the scenario of dropping the lake 8 feet and what the scenario is in terms of rainfall that will be able to handle, whether or not there's risk that we could exceed that event. If that's the case, then we should put the spill gates into the coffer dams, which is apparently technically feasible, so we have the extra capacity. So again, base it on data. Work on data. The stuff's out there, the flow rate data, and it clearly shows that that 5-month period is not the lowest flow month. We could get at least 2/3 of the summer out and be extremely close to that low flow period, at least get a couple months.
Mrs. Kirker? I think it's L. Kirker. L. Kirker on Bartow? Oh, she's coming. I'm so sorry. They were asking me about the mic. All right, move on. Roy Mundy?
Morning. My name is Roy Mundy. I've lived on the lake for over 20 years. This improvement to the dam has been discussed ever since I can remember being up here. It's been pushed back, it's been delayed so many times because of public opinion, because the owners of the dam didn't want to pay for it. At this point, I can't see us paying for the dam when he's making his money off of it, but half the value of my house is based on the waterfront. So if it comes down to whether the dam is repaired or the dam is done away with, I would have to say I would rather have a special assessment to keep the lake, only as a last resort. The other thing is lowering this water level in the summer is going to have a catastrophic effect on the economic
complicated system. Our mother and fathers always told us, keep it simple. Keep it simple. Was any consideration given to self-leveling drawdown spillways? What those are is you have your spillway as present on the top. Instead of a complicated gate system, you take a section out down to the normal water level. If anything happens where there's a power problem, mechanical issue, the gate gets jammed, it's a no-brainer. As soon as the level comes up, the water flows over with nobody there. Another comment I've got is if the water is drawn down, is this company or agency or entity giving the DEQ assurance that that water will be brought up to normal level? My family's been involved in this area forever. They had a business for over 25 years on Wixom Lake. And, you know what, we've got a lot to worry about here. There's a lot of people that work their asses off their whole life to live on a lake, to look out the window and see a duck in the morning or a deer, an eagle flying overhead. You know what, there's just too much conjecture, there's too many questions people have. That's the bottom line why we're here. They lower it, they bring it back. That's the bottom line. Thank you.
Dwayne Birch.
My name's Dwayne Birch.
Right up close to that mic.
Closer. Better? Okay. I represent Edenville Market. Like everybody else, the water goes down, and for a long period of time, it would be bad for our business, and all my staff, I would have to lay staff off, and there just seems like there's another plan here that can, just like everybody else has suggested, that it shouldn't be this long of a period of a drawdown and his funds versus everybody else's funds to help him out. And I just don't think that's right. And so there seems to be a lot of different possibilities out there. Somebody said there's a repair that needs to be done, and it only needs to go down 1 foot. Well, if it needs to go down 1 foot, it's not a big deal to have a certain amount of repairs done. And the 10,000 year flood is, nobody was here 10,000 years ago. You know, to sit there and say, we want the 10,000 year flood, this is what they're projecting, I think is kind of ludicrous. So I think they ought to look back on this and say, what is, you know, just like the other guy, what is common sense here? And this whole thing, and I don't look at people to sit there and say, well, I need repairs at my store, so I'm going to tax on everybody else and say, I'm going to add this to this. No, it's not right. And it's not right for boys to sit there and say, we need to pay for his repairs. Now, if it took me 22 or 30 years to pay for the store, it happens. And you know something? I took a loan out. And as far as I'm concerned, boy should be able to get his loan for, if he makes it, say if it's $1 million a year, and it takes him 15 years to pay for it, so be it. But to take everybody else is just not right, you know? And I think that a lot of things need to be looked at, and I don't think it's right to have everybody on the lake tax for this. And, you know, it's going to suffer everybody. And even the marina, it's going to suffer us, it'll suffer everybody. And I think that a lot of things need to be looked at a lot closer before they let them do this. That's it.
Scott Woolley.
control now under taxes. Boyce wants us to pay another 170, 75, whatever was mentioned, for the next 20 years to help him out. You people own a DNR launch on the lake. And it's my thought that if I have to pay to help Mr. Boyce or you or whoever it is, that those that come in on the weekends and use the lake ought to help pay for part of that cost. Charge another $1, $2, whatever it is, every time they come in. Put a little bit towards the bill. If we're all gonna pay, let's all pay. Thanks.
Karen Avery?
Hi, I'm Karen Avery, a resident. Just a couple comments. The paperwork I've seen for the payback of the 170 is 3,400 residents. What is the assessment district? It should be from Beaverton Dam to Smallwood Dam to all of ours. That's way more than 3,400 residents. It's probably 10,000 residents. Second comment, I saw nothing about how he will pay us back if we loan him the money. That's my comments.
Nate Root? Nate Root?
Morning. My name is Nate Rudd. I've lived on Wixom Lake for 50-some years. And I got just one quick question. Why can't this be done in the wintertime? No reason it can't be done in the wintertime. And I think it's just doing it in the summertime. I think to hurt the people who live on the lake. Not a reason they can't do it in the wintertime. Thank you very much.
The next name is C. Robert Belts. Thanks.
I'm Bob Belts. I represent the Wixom Lake Association. I'm their general counsel, and I'm also vice president. Live on the
Mr.
lake.
Bells?
Yes.
Can I ask you to address this?
Okay.
Thank you.
I'm not here to have everybody vote for me, folks. Some things have happened that I'm not sure that DEQ is aware of. 2 days ago, the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission issued a letter that it sent to Lee Moeller. It can be accessed as a public record on its website under our dam, which our dam is P10808 for identification purposes. In that letter, he indicated that FERC, which is the entity that is requiring the improvements on the dam, has decided to appoint a board of independent consultants, BOC. They will be appointed within 45 days to look at the plans, to make a decision as to whether or not this project should go forward as it is. And FERC has charged this commission, which has not been appointed yet, these are independent people, not connected with the government, to do a number of things. One, to look at the sequencing of the project. Two, to look at the necessity for the size of the project. Three, to determine how water comes down through the watershed to the lake, to the dam, and to determine whether or not it might be possible to open the dam in advance of
these floods when they are predicted, thus requiring less of a large spillway. These are all things that the commission is looking at. As a consequence, what you're asked to do here isn't going to happen. It's clear that the commission cannot assess all of this information. Oh, and also another important thing, the commission is also tasked by FERC to determine the capacity of the Tippecanoe River south of the dam to accommodate more water and to make improvements south of the dam to obviate the necessity for the size of the improvements, which apparently cannot be paid for by Boyce and Mr. Moeller. Now, I'm sure that you folks may be aware of this, this is a submission I made to you, but this is the reason why so many people are here. The headline on the Midland Daily News, Wixom Lake may be drained. Obviously, this has had an enormous effect on property values. Rumors are flying all over the place. You're concerned with the environment. We are too. Normally, we would say the Wixom Lake Association. Running out of time. We are concerned that no environmental impact study has been done relative to wetlands. There's a large area of wetlands to the east of Dundas Road, across from the DNR boat launch. It will be drained. It's 5 feet deep. I know that because I have 660 feet of frontage on it. I've been out in the boat, the only one who ever has been, as far as I know. It's 5 feet deep. It's full of fish. Every fish that's in Wixom Lake, plus an awful lot of carp. Those fish will all die. It's a breeding area for migratory waterfowl. We are very much concerned with the sequencing that is proposed by Boyce. The fact is that that sequencing is inappropriate and is not at the driest time. The reason for the driest sequencing is relative to rain coming down, filling the reservoir, and overflooding the dam. Okay. In any event, we oppose the petition. We think it's inappropriate now, and because of the change by FERC, unnecessary.
Our next name is Rob L. Kelly, or Kellery.
That's me.
Actually, it's more of a question, is
Can you start with your name, sir?
Robert L. Kelly,
Thank you.
307 Grace Court, Hope, Michigan, Wixom Lake. Been there 26 years. Is it required, does DEQ require a bond, a performance bond, when they give this permit? If anybody, any large corporation has, in the state of Michigan, is working, they have to put up a bond. And I just wondered if the DEQ is going to require a bond that says that he's got the money to do the job. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Dennis McBride. Dennis McBride, oh, sorry.
I have some concerns that I've been trying to get answered.
Sir, can you start with your name for us? Your name?
My name is Dennis McBride. It says here that the Wixom Lake Association and the Dam Project Study Group have researched the situation and investigating how to resolve the situation about the dam. I'd like to know who released the information to the Midland paper about the special assessments. And have you exhausted all your avenues with the federal government, the state, on the dam project? I had some discussion with Greg that owns Strikers. Had a concern that I thought that was important.
our first meeting that you brought information to us at Billings Council, or Billings Township Hall, you talked about if it was going to be assessed to landowners on the lake and has access to the lake, along with all the businesses from the Tibbawasi side and the tobacco side, would have to pay for this project. My concern is, have you had Boyce open up all of his financial records to see what income he really has? We've been told he makes $200,000 a year off our dams. And I presume that's all of the dams, other than just Wixom Dam. It's more like Seacords, Small, and Sanford. Or is he making $200,000 from each zone? I asked Greg, I said, Greg, you're gonna assess all the businesses along this route. My concern was, what are we doing about the farmers that empty their fields in these drainage ditches that come into our lake and flow? But we're not interested in them. Well, they're just about as much fault as we are. We don't do anything. They put more water into the lake than the river. My concern is, why haven't we looked at them? Or did you look at them? I'd like to have everybody be able to have a copy of these minutes sent to us, for we know exactly what was being said. Some of us is hard of hearing. I'm hard of hearing, so I never heard anything that hardly was said. You may have answered some of those questions earlier, I don't know. But I do feel that we're in a catch-22 situation. If the dam goes out, we have no more lake. We just have the river again. But the other thing that concerns me.
That's time. That's 3 minutes. Thank you.
Oh,
No.
somebody else that's the problem we always have.
Our next name is Chip Lotta.
Charles J. Latta, I live here in Beaverton, recent. To answer your question more direct to what you all are getting at in permitting, I guess I don't understand the science study behind a place where birds migrate through. You're picking a time of the year when it's very possible, based on water temperature, the fish haven't done any, totally done all of their laying of eggs and coming to life. You're draining wetlands. It's obvious you created the wetlands, or the people who put the dam in created wetlands. Clearly you damage ecosystems when you drain lakes. Clearly you make ecosystems when you fill them back up. It takes years to develop a full ecosystem. So when you do choose to drain the lake, besides activity on the lake, you're killing everything that becomes land that used to be part of the natural ecosystem. So I guess I can't understand how you could say that draining the lake 8 foot makes sense, let alone a foot. If nature does it, by law it's acceptable, but it's supposed to be regulated by us through DEQ in choicing and permitting. As far as the economics go, it's obvious. Again, to me, the entire county benefits from the economics in this area. Why? Is that every taxpayer shouldn't have to pay is off subject for what you all want, but certainly for the group that's here, yes, not just farmers, everybody benefits. Do people like to pay for stadiums in the middle of Detroit? No, but did we pay for it? Absolutely. This is an economic center. And so when you take into consideration both the ecosystem side of this issue and the economic issue, wow, I'm sorry, totally mishandled by my standards. And to gentleman came up here as an engineer and said, get your facts in order. I'm a science guy. Get your facts in order. I don't get this. It's a dirty shame.
Sydney Hansen? Hang on just a second, I gotta change the tape.
Good job.
All right, again, this is Sydney Hansen.
My name is Sid Hansen. I'm a waterfront owner of Wixom Lake. I've been an owner there for 40 years. I'd like to just make a comment regarding the Tittabawassee River. It is one of two major hydro potential rivers in the state of Michigan. And it is a resource that we ought to use and use smartly as a resource. Energy is an important issue for the state of Michigan. Regarding value, just Tittabawassee Township and Beaverton Township is about $200 million in value in terms of asset. I think it benefits for everyone to have a viable energy producing facility on our lake. And I think development, however that's done through FERC or whether it's regulated through the states, I think it's important to maintain that hydro presence. I guess I would look for the DEQ to look to the applicant to also provide information that's professional and also managing the asset that's professional in a way that is complementary of what the state needs are and what also our residents expect. I thank you for coming today. Thank you.
Mike Adams?
Hello, Mike Adams here. I completely disagree with anything of this voice taxation. My biggest issue is the financial issue. I do not see why the private residents of this lake and the businesses have to do anything but giving their money to a private entity, a business such as Boyce, who's been in business for 80 years. A couple of years ago, I learned that a couple of years ago, he had the money to do this job. Now all of a sudden he's lost it, he switched it from one pocket to the other, something, whatever, tells me he's a crook. I don't think that we should have to worry about giving our tax money to a private business. I already said that. This guy, let's see, he owns the Sanford Dam. He had 24 lots down underwater in front of it to protect the spillway to it. He decided it's underwater. He doesn't have to give the tax money to it anymore. $6,000 a year is being paid by Midland County to cover those taxes. He built those nice pavilions on M30, cool. Then he fenced them out so the public can't use them. Fenced out that public access point to the tobacco side. So this is the guy here that wants to take our money, but he turns around and just shits on everybody that he wants to. I don't see any respect in that. Excuse my French, but it's a fact. It's a fact. I do not believe that we should support him. If he can't take care of that dam after owning it for 80 years, he can do like you and I have to do. Forfeit, lose it back to the government, whatever. The government's going to come up with a plan to take some money from someplace else to cover any improvements, not repairs, that this dam needs to be made. Also, I agree with the other gentleman that was saying, why can't they do this in the wintertime instead of the summertime? Might cost somebody a little bit more in diesel and stuff like that. I know about heavy equipment in the wintertime, it's a little harder to operate, but it can be done. It can be done. I have no support for taxation of the public to give to this man so that he can take the money and run. He's a crook. He's a crook. He's a businessman maybe, but he's a crook.
The next name we have is T, and I think the last name is Pollard.
I'm going to decline it. It's all been covered pretty well.
Thank you.
Thank you, peoples.
Mary Jeanette. Dawn Keller. John Blaze.
Decline.
Dave Mann.
I'm David Mann. I'm representing the Howard White Family Trust. As a residence on the lake and has for 30 years. I'm here to ask one question, two answers. Has the Army Corps of Engineers been involved in any of this permitting process? And the second is, where is the EIS statement for this project? I've worked with water before in the United States, and you have to go through very lengthy processes. I don't think the DEQ can set aside the Corps of Engineers requirements. So if you happen to know the location of the EIS or the preliminary environmental impact statement, we'd like to know its location where we can get a copy. Thank you.
If anyone else would like to make a statement, we can have you come up and fill out a card and make your statement at this time. Yes, sir.
Good morning. My name is John Bell. I live on the Upper Tittabawassee in Hay Township. I'm going to be affected by this, as will thousands of other residents that live on the Upper Tittabawassee, Wixom Lake, to Tobacco Lake, to Tobacco River. There'll be thousands of us impacted by this. There's a lot of wetland near my area. It's all going to be impacted. Lowering the water 4 feet is going to put everything in front of me on dry land. All the fish will be gone, all the wildlife will be gone, everything else. Besides the economic impact of this, most of us, I'm a summer resident, most of us are, a lot of us I should say, are summer residents, especially up the area where I live. We bring money into the township, we pay taxes for the school district. In fact, we pay more taxes than the people who are homesteading here. We're all going to be impacted, as are all the wildlife and everything else, okay? I've read some articles on this, and it seems that Boyce Hydro bought these dams recently. I don't know about owning them for 80 years. They may have been in business for 80 years, but I heard from what I read that they bought them recently. I assume they did due diligence in pursuing this and knowing that these dams were going to be a problem. Why else would somebody else sell them? Anyways, I don't think we the residents should have to pay a private business. If Boyce can't do the job, they should turn it over to the county, turn it over to the townships. I'll join in a special assessment for a county property or a state property or, something like that. I'm not going to help private business. I don't think that's right. I think, other than that, you folks in the DNR should be requiring at least a $10 million performance bond before you allow them to start. Thank you.
Okay. Is there anybody else who would like to provide comments before we move on? Come on down. Once we finish taking comments, I'm going to do my best to address some of these issues that you've raised. I can't address all of them, but I will try.
I actually work on the dam study group. I'm speaking
myself in this situation. My concern is with the lake drawdown. One of the questions I haven't heard is, we'll have a significant amount of lake frontage that's be open ground now. What are the people gonna be doing? Throwing weed control, moving rocks? What's the result of the 8-foot drawdown? And how do we protect the dry lands that are down at that time? I assume we're gonna get chemicals, rock movement, building, you name it. Just a question of how we protect the lake when it's drawn down.
All right. Is there anybody else who would like to provide comments to this? As Joyce said earlier, the public comment period is still open for another 10 days starting today. You can provide written comments to us in our office. You can send those in. We can take them by email as well. We're happy to do that. Let me go through a couple of things here. I think it's important to remind everybody here that the DEQ is not a party to this action. We're not a partner with Boyce. We're not involved with Boyce Hydro in any way. We have a statutory requirement under the state of Michigan law to review practices that impact inland lakes and streams in this case. That's our role. We received an application from Boyce Hydro to take an action, and we're currently reviewing that. That's why we're here today, to get comments from all of you. We are philosophically neither pro or against, I suppose, is the best way to look at it. I don't want you folks to think that there's some agenda involved. I'd also, just so you know, there was some consternation about not allowing us to donate time. We operate under fairly strict rules on public hearings, state of Michigan requirements for those. So I understand it can be frustrating. I understand the process can be frustrating. We do our best to try and mitigate that. I hope you'll be patient, and I thank you for your patience already today. I'm going to try and go through these. First off, I will let you know that we did invite representatives from Boyce Hydro to attend today to try and answer your questions. They declined, but they were invited. A lot of your comments, I'm not going to be able to give you a good answer because they're either outside of our area of responsibility or I just don't know. Okay, but I'll be as honest with you as I can because if I don't know, I can't tell you. Is Boyce trying to sell their facilities? I have no idea. You probably know better than I do. But whether they do or they don't, we are reviewing their application today as owners of the property. And that's how we have to move forward. Okay? When the water levels drop, where are they going to drop? What's going to be the impact across the lakes? That's one of the things that we have to look at right now. A lot of the concerns, one concern was just raised about exposed bottomland, that area that's going to be exposed once those water levels are down if we issue a permit, if that happens. We have to look at that. We have to look at what those impacts are going to be. We have to look at how far that extent is going to reach upstream as well as from the east to west side of the system. So that's something that's currently under review. The issue of license surrender. I am aware that Boyce has sent a letter to FERC indicating that they are intending to surrender their license. It's my understanding that the surrender of a license does not automatically mandate the removal of the dam. It would surrender their license. I don't know what that means from, who operates that. I don't know if it goes, Boyce retains ownership and they simply cease to operate as a hydroelectric facility. Those are all questions that would probably have to go through FERC. A great many of your questions should be addressed to the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission because they operate under their licensing requirements. Under state of Michigan law, we have a law that regulates how dams are constructed and maintained. It's Part 315 of Public Act 451, the dam safety portion of that. Hydroelectric plants, facilities that are licensed by FERC, are exempt from Part 315 review. They are not exempt from Part 301 review, which is what this application is being reviewed for. So, all of these design criteria, all of the questions about why can't they do it in the wintertime, is it the proper design, all the reasons why FERC has apparently appointed an independent commission to look at this proposal, is largely exempt and out of our review under state law. The impacts from the drawdown itself are what we have to look at. So we do have to look at things like, will there be impacts to wetlands? Will there be impacts to the fisheries resource? Will there be impacts to the mussels that are existing in the lake? Herps, turtles, frogs. Those are the things that we have to concern ourselves with. And that is what our review involves. But a lot of the maintenance and a lot of the repair under FERC licensing is going to be exempt if we don't have any authority over it. Bear with me. On the application itself, one of you gentlemen raised the question of Section 12 was not completed, whether or not wetlands will be impacted. That is an evaluated criteria we're looking at. The reason that's not filled out is because it's not a direct impact. Under Part 303, state law, you hear about wetlands protection in Michigan. If you're going to dredge or fill or drain surface water from a wetland, it requires a permit. In this case, it's secondary to the actual impacts of the Part 301 drawdown. It's not that those aren't being looked at, it's a concurrent review. There's no direct, say, a dredge or a fill. If there was, we would expect that sort of information to be required. So. What assurance do we have that the water levels will be brought back up after the drawdown? This kind of goes to the question that several of you have asked about our ability to provide a performance bond or require a performance bond. We do not have authority under state statute to require a performance bond to ensure that the work will be completed. I've looked into that. The statute does not allow it.
Who does?
Who has that authority? I don't know. I just know I don't. I wish I had a better answer for you. This question's has been coming up for months. This isn't the first time we've heard it, so I investigated it already. I don't know if you have that ability through the county or the township, but it's worth investigating. Okay, so that's something that's outside of our review. If an independent body such as the Dam Study Group or the Wixom Lake Association or you all as a group of concerned citizens wanting to pursue that with your county and your local representatives, that's the proper avenue to look at that. Okay?
Question?
Yeah, go ahead. I'm just trying to feed through these notes.
Yeah, so the DEQ then is looking mostly for the impact of the water. The water drops, and in any instance, whenever you're talking about any dam, the people below the dam are going to suffer the consequences of the additional flow. I've several times this winter, and just even a month ago, seen the tobacco side frothing in the cold air with steam coming up above the level of the dam. And a month ago, when it was flooded over, I noticed on the downriver side, there's docks floating down there. It was over the banks. It's already running at capacity downstream. They propose that it gets increased from 64,000 cubic feet of water per second to double that amount. Well, we're already running at capacity with the downstream capacity. So I would have to agree with the other gentleman. Maybe time your opening of the dam in anticipation of water that is coming downstream. They can tell the dam how much they have. I'm suggesting that this dam does not need improvements, obviously it doesn't need repairs, because it already is running at capacity of what the lower level can handle.
Okay, so the requirements on repair or improvements, however we want to phrase that, are a FERC requirement. I understand you may not agree, but I don't have anything to say about it. FERC has said you have to meet these requirements under their licensing agreement, so they're going to have to do that.
Yeah,
With respect to the rate of drawdown, if we were to issue a permit for a drawdown, we issue it for a controlled drawdown. We take comments, we work closely with Fisheries Division, as well as floodplain concerns to make sure that we don't end up with sort of an emergency situation where we had such flooding earlier this year that you get a lot of water flowing much faster than we probably want to see it. But again, the requirements that the spillways be improved to handle some high volume flow is a FERC requirement outside of our review. So.
Now they're building a bigger dam than what the river can handle.
Yeah. I don't know who released information to the Midland paper. It wasn't me. We mandatory bird impacts. Obviously, we look at wetlands resources. We look at all of the bugs and bunnies sort of things. We look at impacts of floodplains. We look at all the impacts of the aquatic resource. That's what we're reviewing as part of our permit review. Okay. The U.S. Army Corps of Engineers does not have any authority on this portion of the lake. Their authority ends downstream at the Dow Dam. So the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers is not involved in this project. Whether or not they have completed any sort of EIS, I strongly doubt because they're not involved. So that's about as straight an answer as I can give you on that. What happens to the exposed bottomland? How is it protected? Well, I'm not sure how to answer the how is it protected part. I suppose anytime you see a drawdown, folks will take advantage of opportunity to do some things on their frontage in front of their property. That's a good question. We'll have to look at that some more. But that's probably not something that, from a temporary standpoint, from the standpoint of wetlands, one thing you need to understand when you draw down the water level on a wetland, from a sort of cyclic point of view, it's not necessarily a long-term impact. The upstream wetlands that might be impacted, or even those that are close by, like the one behind the boat launch on Douglas Road, there will be a temporary impact. Nice thing about wetlands is they bounce back very quickly. So those are the kind of things we look at. Everybody said a lot more, but those are the ones that I thought I'd better try and address.
Question, how do we get FERC to have a meeting like this?
I don't know. That's way above my pay grade. I just don't know. Sorry. I'm sure that the gentleman, our first speaker, Mr. Rothman, he's offered to meet with anybody that'd like to speak with them outside after we close this hearing today. And I know they have contact information, and they can provide you with a lot of good information on that. Yeah. I apologize, I can't hear you.
Boys have to get a permit from you people to put in that campground.
I'm not going to comment on that right now.
Make some noise.
Okay, hold on, folks. Trying my best to answer your concerns. Mr. Zagat?
Yes, may I make a statement to address two of the questions that you had unanswered?
Very briefly.
Yes. The audience should understand that there have been letters from FERC that give the answers to the question of who can require a bond. The answer is FERC can require a bond. If you visit the WixomLakeAssociation.org website that was on the handout and click on the Boyce Dam info, you will see a folder that says A-June. The letters that came from Representative Camp's office are in that folder. I encourage you to read them. They answer many questions that Brian was unable to answer because it's outside of his scope.
Thank you very much. So there's a good source of information. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, I have a question about your agency and the research that you've done. Do you know that is there a particular time of year that is better than another time of year to slow water level?
Right, so the question of whether or not it's appropriate to do drawdowns during one time of the year versus another time of the year is part of our review. When we do a review such as this, the review gets conducted by our department, by Wildlife Division, the DNR, and through Fisheries Division. So yes, we look at all of those concerns.
You know right now, is there a particular time that's better, or is that something that you're going to review? Will we get the results of that?
Well, we're looking at that right now. One thing that is important to understand is whenever we receive an application, whether it's one of you folks for a seawall or this sort of large-scale project, we review exactly what is sent to us. So we have to look at that, and then we start to look at what are alternatives that might be less of an impact. Okay. Yes.
Why aren't you going to comment on the campground?
I'm not going to comment on that right now.
Thank you all very, very much for your comments and cooperation. We appreciate your interest in the proposed project and that you took the time to be here today. As indicated at the beginning of the hearing, comments until June 25th.